from Walton. We're a flower shop located at 202 Rhode Island Street near Buffalo, New York. We're open. We sell flowers and a bunch of tchotchkes and vintage if you'd like to come check us out. We're also online at bowtonflowers.com. Don't forget to stay home and send flowers.
Hey everybody, Ashay, I'm T, owner of Curry's Cafe. We're located at 128 Barbell on the west side of Buffalo, and we're open.
Pineapple Company, yes, we're open. Find us at 65 Allen Street in Allentown, a collective of 6 local artists making original artwork. Follow us on Instagram for more.
Rustbelt Books, yeah, we're open. Buy, sell, trade. Come find us at 415 Grand Street, Buffalo, New York. Like I said, buy, sell, trade.
This is Queen City Health and Wellness and Acupuncture Clinic, downtown Buffalo. You can find us online at queencityhealthandwellness.com or on Facebook under the same name. You can book an appointment on our website or call the office, 218-9338.
How now?
This is how now.
How now?
Disquiet, distaste, waste, watch. Even embracing, they are turning away, faces aloof and luminous, eyes cast sideways into shade, damp air, heavy with lies and misunderstandings. She is alone in his patterned grasp, sharp contrasts of silhouettes, each darting a glance at the other, caught in some trap, rife with unhappiness. 2. Escape, escapade, shape, space. She lingers in the back foreground, lingering while leaving, staring absently past his bald head, her shape almost ominous in the eerie stillness. Perhaps someone else lurks in the hallway, a fugitive fled from another darker room, its shadow illuminated by a patch of black, lit only by the yellow shaft of light, like a dagger turning pitch purple at its edges. 3. Gusts, ground, grope, thrusts. Umbrellas thrown against gusts of rain, wind rushing the crush of crowds, hurling down soaked streets. Meet with men grabbing daggers, cudgels, fireworks stripping the sky, striping the dark with furious darts of bright heat that may burn their upturned faces. Sticks prominent, hands raised, hats knocked to the sodden pavement. Folks dash a frantic disarray towards what might be called safety. 4. Not so much here. Not so much silhouettes as shapes scissored out, edgy and jagged by a cold hand, a chill eye. What to call these figures, nearly congealed in space, their postures something like subjugation. They are our ancestors, ordinary inhabitants inviting us to scan multiple distances, intense and familiar, but never our own.
I really like the campaign message, real, resilient, and ready.
Thank you.
I think that's very, very cool, very smart. So let's talk a little bit about that, and let's break it down a little bit. How are you real, India? How are you real?
I am real in ways that are sort of indescribable, right? I am a Buffalo girl through and through. I'm a person that you'll run into at a protest or in the grocery store or picking up my child in the afternoon, right? Like a part of the reason why we say I am real as a candidate is because I'm a real person with the same issues that single mothers have, that working class people have, that average real Buffalonians have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time that we have leadership that is compassionate to that listens to us, and that really wants to see an improvement in the lives of all people.
Fantastic. So, and then moving on to resilient. just like Buffalo, you are resilient. Yes?
Just like Buffalo, I am resilient. I'm a person who's overcome many challenges, right? And I think that, you know, traditionally when a person is preparing to run for office, there's your closest advisors will say, well, like, what's going to come out about you, right? Like, people are always worried about their mistakes or their challenges sort of being plastered all over the news. And instead of me trying to find a counter narrative, my answer to that is I own it, right? I had children very young. I dropped out of high school. I've not always made the best decisions, but because I am from Buffalo, because I am resilient, I learned how to take those poor choices sometimes just living under conditions of concentrated disadvantage or systemic discrimination, racism, sexism, classism, you name it. And the way that I've been able to progress through life is what I believe this city to be. We have always been a people that, despite our own challenges, maintain this spirit of love and vibrancy, you know, and even when we experienced great population loss and not much job growth, we still have a thriving art scene. In the pandemic, we saw folks come together and create mutual aid networks to fill in the gaps where the people who are supposed to be taking care of us are not. So, you know, Buffalo is a definition of resilience. And that is something about Buffalo that I resonate with very deeply, in just the person that I am.
And ready. Why ready? Why are you ready?
The number one reason why I'm ready is because I'm tired. I think we're all ready, right? We're ready for something different.
Yeah, I think we are all ready.
We are already.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the qualification sense, right? I went from being a registered nurse, from identifying problems, planning treatment, and implementing solutions for patients, to carrying that into a school setting where I did that with students that come from high poverty neighborhoods. I took that into a career in organizing where I worked on criminal legal reform, police accountability and transparency, and the statewide campaign to legalize adult use cannabis. And I then took that and, you know, put it into co-founding a nonprofit affordable housing developer to protect people in the Fruit Belt neighborhood from the negative impacts of neighborhood change. So when I say that I'm ready, I know that the counter narrative is going to be that my inexperience in government makes me unqualified. But I would say that my experience as a mother, as a nurse, as an organizer, as an executive nonprofit director, that I'm more than ready. I have more experiences than most people. And besides my experience, I have extensive networks of people who are solutions oriented, who are doing the work every day anyway. And when I'm mayor, I'll be able to amplify that work and get the resources where they're going to be most effective.
Amazing. So I think, you know, I would like to talk a little bit about your work with Open Buffalo. And then I would like to talk a little bit about how you came to do a one-woman protest in the Fruit Belt, and how that led into the creation of the Fruit Belt Land Trust. And then, you know, we'll just see where we go from there. But I'm very fascinated to hear about your motivations for the beginnings of what we are seeing now as a legitimate progressive candidate running for mayor in Buffalo, which is astounding.
Yeah, I have to give, you know, a lot of credit for the person that I am today to, you know, not only Open Buffalo as an organization, but its executive director, Franchelle Parker, was really served as, you know, a mentor to me, who did a lot of encouraging me to grow. I would like to add, though, that Open Buffalo's a C3 and a nonprofit. They are not involved in any way or endorsing my candidacy, but my work with Open Buffalo was a critical turning point in my life. I think that the experience of going through their leadership development program was maybe the first time in my life that someone told me they viewed me as a leader. And during that time, I was also in a really difficult position with my marriage. I was in an abusive marriage that was physically violent. And because of the friendships I built there and the empowerment that I experienced as a part of that program, I was able to move on from that and really be able to start to realize my power and feel comfortable standing in it, right? So after I graduated Emerging Leaders, you know, Fran called me up one day and said, "You live in the Fruit Belt. We're doing high road economic development in the Fruit Belt." And at the time, I didn't know what high road economic development was, but I started going to these meetings. I moved to the Fruit Belt because I was a nurse. I worked for Children's Hospital. The hospital was moving and I wanted to be close to work, right? So when I first moved into the neighborhood, a lot of my neighbors were like, who are you? Where'd you come from? I was paying more rent than anybody else in the neighborhood. And it wasn't until I got involved with my neighbors that I figured out that I was a big part of the problem, right? It was people just like me who was putting a squeeze on the folks who lived there. So one of the first things, when I entered the scene, they were already working on the parking. It had gone through the assembly and made it to the Senate every year, and then it would die. And this happened 2 years in a row. So finally, the third year, we come to an agreement, and we think it's gonna pass. Like 3 days left in the legislative session, we think it's gonna pass, and then there's chatter. The Fruit Belt is a very tight-knit community, like people still gossip there. So we got word that one of the unions in particular, CSEA, was kind of going back to City Hall, trying to renegotiate the terms under our noses. Me and my young organizer mind, because I had finished this program, now I'm like, okay, I gotta do something. I went out, I put some Beyonce on my headphones, and I started blocking off streets. Maple Street, all the way down to, I think I ended at Locust, where I put some trash cans around me and kind of stood there. You know, some people confronted me. I had one woman like actually drive over the sidewalk to go and park anyway, but the news wound up showing up and covering it. And it was really, it does matter. I can do something as one person. They'll still tell you to this day that protest meant nothing and it was going to pass anyway. But one has to wonder whether it had an impact on us finally getting that done or not.
Well, it certainly had an impact on you in the sense of being able to say that one person does matter, and you know, being able to carry that energy forward. Like when you do something and you know it's received well or not, you know, it defines how much risk a person is going to take after that. As a person of character, figure out, okay, am I a part of the problem? I'm actually going to be a part of the solution. And so when you step into like the ideas of moving forward in your campaign, how do you see the campaign progressing? What do you need? What's going on?
Buffalo is a unique place. And it is unique in that we are well aware of the high poverty, the lack of opportunity, the stagnant wages, the high unemployment for certain groups of people, the lack of investment in certain areas. And for some reason, we continue to empower the same people to keep leading us off of this cliff. I think that the political climate, both nationally, regionally, and locally, is a perfect storm for a person like me. This campaign is not about India becoming mayor. This campaign is about creating an alternate infrastructure for progressive candidates, because we know that our Democratic Party locally has not been friendly to true progressives.
Yeah, it's very neoliberal.
It is.
It's very much based on tax write-offs for very wealthy developers, and a gutting of our architectural history and beauty, for short-term gains for a select amount of people that creates difficulty. How do you see your relationship with developers if you are elected mayor? How do you see your relationship taking shape? Because you would have to deal with people that are, quote unquote, living the resurgency of Buffalo. So how would you change the narrative with that to be able to allow for a greater participation from all classes?
I would stop just short of calling myself a municipalist, only because I still have a lot to learn. I do believe very deeply that the people closest to the problem are those close to the solutions, and that communities should be able to decide for themselves how development happens. The city is the largest property owner in the city of Buffalo, right? And we need to empower neighborhoods to be organized and to choose for themselves what they want their neighborhoods to look like. So I am for community-driven development. I would definitely work with the council to opt out of the 485 tax abatement. We would very quickly develop a land disposition and land use policy that makes it easier for owner occupants to get access to vacant properties, for communities to have say over what is developed and how, for community gardens and healthy green space. I don't believe that all developers are evil people, right? But there needs to be mechanisms to hold folks accountable, and they should have to follow the rules just like everyone else. You don't get to go and get variances and step on top of communities who don't want you there because you have money. It's not right and it's not fair. And we spent so much time and energy on the green code that now certain people are able to circumvent, but then we tell others that, well, you can't put accessory dwelling units next to your home, right, to keep your family close. We have to just adjust our priorities to put the people and the planet first. And the other thing is this whole theory that like all development is good development is a lie. We have a bunch of vacant luxury apartments that no one can afford, and we are not investing enough in affordable units.
So what would you say to people who are bored with the idea of politics, with the idea of participation in politics? Yeah, we got Trump out. Okay, that's enough. How do we keep the momentum going where people are still actively engaged and ready to go?
Yeah, and I think that is the job of those of us who are running, is to keep our memories fresh, right? And we need to know that, like, while entitlements and appropriations come from the federal government, and that's important, the way those resources are deployed locally is a local thing, right? So the reason why we're not getting the infrastructure improvements, I spent the afternoon watching Common Council meetings, right? And they're talking about speed zone cameras versus, putting stripes on the street, right? The reason why we don't have stripes on the streets is because the people who determine which streets get repaved and done don't care about certain areas, right? But I think that the key to it also is like having a candidate that people feel inspired by and that folks can see themselves in. And I can't recall any time in my life that there was an opponent to the current administration that was like super exciting, right? It was like an alternative choice, yes, possibly better, yes, but not like, we're not really excited about it. It's not something that's going to
Yeah.
make me go out and vote if I'm not normally a prime voter.
Or even register.
Or even register, exactly.
And this is something very important to note, because this show will be coming out on the 12th, that the 14th is the last day to register to be able to vote in the primary, to be able to vote for India. So this is very important. If you are not a registered voter at this point, please go to where?
So you can do it online at the DMV website if you have New York State ID. But so the 14th is a Sunday. The 12th is the day you need to have it done by, the Friday before. So actually, as of the airing, if you are not registered at all, you actually have until May. But
Okay.
if you are registered as anything other than a Democrat, you cannot vote in the Democratic primary. Folks are still shocked at this. Like, New York State is far behind the times with these closed primaries. So a closed primary means that Democrats vote for Democrats, Republicans vote for Republicans. So if you are not one of those parties, you cannot vote in their primary election. So you can't be blank. You can't be an independent. You have to be a registered Democrat to vote in the Democratic primary. And because Buffalo's a Democratic city, this race is going to likely be decided in the primary on June 22nd.
And the primary on June 22nd.
Yes.
How now?